I always thought I was just doing what any good son should, supporting his family when they needed it most. But then, this past Christmas, my own mother, in front of our entire family, called me a burden for keeping a roof over her head. That was the moment everything shattered. To really get why that hit me so hard, we need to rewind a bit. Growing up, things were never quite balanced. My mom, Denise, was a single parent who perfected the art of martyrdom. Every dinner she paid for, every sacrifice she made for us, you heard about it for weeks. I could have had a new coat, she'd sigh dramatically, but no, Liam needed sneakers. Bella, my little sister, was the opposite. She was spoiled rotten. Anything she wanted, she eventually got. While I was told at 12 I needed to be the man of the house, Bella was crowned a princess, and she certainly lived like one. I didn't question it back then. It was just life. I started working at 15, handing over half my paycheck for groceries. I studied hard, scraped together a small scholarship for community college. But living on campus? Forget about it. Think of your sister. Think of me. Mom would say, guilt-tripping me into staying. So I stayed. 2 years ago, I finally landed a halfway decent IT job. Remote, good hours, and for the first time, my own money. That's when the subtle shifts began. Mom would joke about my big bucks and how I could finally give her the life she deserved. Soon, the jokes became expectations. Your rent is due, by the way, she'd say, even though I wasn't on a lease and she didn't even own the house. I was paying her rent, her groceries, her car insurance. My rent for a tiny room with a leaky ceiling and no lock? $1,200 a month. Still, I kept going. I told myself Mom was struggling. I told myself Bella was still a kid, even though she was 20 and only worked part-time at a boutique when the mood struck her. They both acted like I was doing the absolute bare minimum. I just didn't have the heart, or maybe the courage, to say no. But I was bone-deep tired. I dreamed of saving for my own place, of traveling, of just having some independence. Every time I tried to bring it up, Mom would hit me with "after all I've done for you," and Bella would roll her eyes and call me selfish. Fast forward to last December. Christmas was always this weird, performative affair at our house. Mom loved the image of being a festive, giving mother, but it was all just for show. We'd have lights and a tree, but most of the gifts under were things I'd bought and wrapped. She'd write the tags in fancy cursive, from Mom, but they were items I'd ordered on Amazon with my own card. I never complained. I just figured it was worth it to keep the peace. But this year, the resentment was really starting to eat at me. The night before Christmas, I overheard Mom on the phone with her sister. She was laughing, saying she didn't know what she'd do without her little ATM. That stung. I didn't confront her. I just sat there in the dark, listening to her talk about me like I was nothing more than a bank account. Christmas morning arrived. Everyone was in the living room. Mom in her robe, Bella in fuzzy slippers I'd bought, my aunt and cousins who'd stopped by for brunch. I handed out the presents, as usual. Bella shrieked over the perfume. Mom held up the necklace I'd spent 2 weeks picking out. Everyone was smiling, it seemed. Then Mom did something unexpected. She stood up, holding her coffee like she was making a toast. "I just want to say," she began, all sweet and syrupy, "that even though it's been a hard year, we've made it through together. Mostly thanks to Bella's spirit," she added, patting my sister's shoulder, "and me holding this family together." I blinked. No mention of me. No thanks. Not even a nod in my direction. I was about to let it go, to just smile, fake it, survive the day. But then she looked right at me, still in front of everyone, and she said, "And as for Liam, well, not everyone can carry their weight, but we love him anyway." The room went silent. I felt my blood run cold. "What?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She smiled, this fake, pitying smile that made my stomach churn. "You've been nothing but a burden this year, but we're family. We forgive you." That was it. 7 words that shattered years of quiet resentment and sacrifice. I just stared at her, then around the room. Nobody said a word. Bella looked vaguely amused. My aunt just sipped her mimosa. I felt this weird sensation like the walls were closing in, but also like I'd finally thrown open a window in my head and could breathe again. Good to know, I said. My voice came out scarily calm. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded, walked back to my room, and started packing. I left that afternoon. The next day, I blocked them all. Mom, Bella, even my aunt. No note. No explanation. I found a cheap Airbnb on the edge of town and immediately started apartment hunting. I had savings. I had a plan. What they didn't have was rent money. Because, as it turned out, I wasn't just paying my part, I was paying all of it. And they had absolutely no clue how much of their life I was holding up. It only took 3 days for the first message to come through. I'd blocked their numbers, but Mom apparently remembered how to use email when she needed something. The subject line was short: rent. The email body was barely 5 sentences. Liam, I don't know where you went, but your childish tantrum has put us in a very difficult position. Rent is due, and I need your portion as soon as possible. Bella's hours were cut, and I'm already behind on utilities. You're making things harder than they need to be. Be an adult. Mom. No, how are you? No, can we talk? Just straight to business. I stared at the screen for a good 10 minutes, my heart pounding, before I closed my laptop and let the silence swallow me. Part of me wanted to write back, to spell out everything I'd done in black and white. But another part of me, a much louder part now, whispered, why should you explain yourself to people who never listened anyway? That silence became addictive. For once, no one was banging on my door asking for a favor. No one was guilt-tripping me about Wi-Fi bills or vet visits for a dog I never asked for. I had my own space. A single room with a wobbly chair, mismatched curtains, and creaky floorboards, but it was mine. But peace doesn't last long when entitled people realize the golden goose is gone. On day 5, the emails turned into calls from random, unknown numbers. I didn't answer. Then the Facebook messages started. Even though I hadn't posted in months, Bella tried first. OMG, you are so dramatic. You just left? Really? You know Mom can't pay the rent alone. Guess that makes you the selfish one now. I didn't respond. Instead, I kept moving forward. I found a 1-bedroom apartment on the edge of the city. Not fancy, but clean and quiet. I signed a lease 2 weeks later. Paid my own deposit. Turned on my own lights. Stocked my own fridge with whatever I wanted, chicken nuggets, almond milk, and enough frozen pizza to last an apocalypse. The peace was fragile, though. Every time I heard my phone buzz, my gut twisted. Every time I saw an email pop up with Mom's name, I felt like I was 17 again, waiting to be scolded for not doing enough. Then about a week after I moved in, I got a call from my grandmother. She rarely got involved in family drama, but she was one of the only people I hadn't cut off. I picked up, expecting a gentle check-in. What I got instead was a full-blown guilt trip. Liam, honey, she started, her voice laced with tension. I got a very concerning call from your mother. She says you abandoned them without notice and that now they're facing eviction. Is that true? I let out a slow breath. I didn't abandon anyone, Grandma. I left because I was being used. She hesitated. I understand you've had your issues, but family's supposed to support each other. It's not right to just disappear. I bit my tongue. Family supports each other? Where was that support when I was skipping meals so Bella could go on school trips? Where was that support when I handed over my entire paycheck and got called a burden in return? Grandma, I said quietly, did Mom tell you I've been paying all the rent for the last 6 months? That I bought every single Christmas present under the tree, including the ones she said were from her? That she said I was a burden on Christmas morning in front of everyone? There was a long pause on the line. She didn't mention that. Of course, she didn't. Another pause. I just wish you would have talked to someone before leaving. I tried. I said, my voice hard now. For years. Nobody listened. That was the end of that conversation. After that call, I finally decided to check the voicemails that had been piling up. I wasn't sure why. Maybe I just wanted to hear what they were really saying when they thought I wasn't listening. I listened to one from Mom 3 days after I left. Liam, I don't know what you think you're proving, but you're being childish. This little game of yours is hurting your family. Bella is crying. I can barely sleep. And we're going to be out on the street if you don't come back and help. This is your home, too. But maybe I was wrong to think you cared. If we get evicted, that's on you. The next one was from Bella. You think you're some kind of martyr or something? Newsflash, you chose to pay stuff. No one put a gun to your head. Grow up and stop blaming Mom for everything. We're the ones suffering now because you couldn't handle a little responsibility. I actually laughed out loud. A little responsibility. They were absolutely shameless. By now, the rent was probably long overdue. I didn't know for sure, but I had a pretty good guess they were panicking. I changed my direct deposit, canceled my link PayPal and Venmo. I left nothing they could access, and I didn't tell them where I moved. They had no way to find me unless I wanted to be found. Then came the twist. 3 weeks after Christmas, I got an envelope in the mail with no return address, just my name written in my mom's familiar handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a printed letter. Liam, I hope you're proud of yourself. We got a notice from the landlord. We have until the 15th to pay or we're being evicted. I told you this would happen. I always knew you didn't care about this family, but I never thought you'd go this far. You're not welcome here anymore. If you don't step up and fix this, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. Mom, no signature, no love, just blame. I sat there with the letter in my hands, rereading it over and over. And the anger that had been simmering for weeks turned into something colder, clearer. She thought she could guilt me back into submission. She thought threatening to turn the family against me would bring me crawling back. What she didn't realize, what she never realized, was that I'd already spent years carrying guilt I didn't earn. And now that I was free of it, I wasn't going back. But I also wasn't done. That was the moment I decided it was time to stop being quiet. If they wanted to act like I was the villain, I was going to show them exactly what I'd been holding up. And I had the receipts. I didn't even wait a day. After reading that letter, something in me snapped. Not in a rage kind of way, but in this oddly calm, focused clarity like I just put down a 100-pound weight I've been carrying for years and realized I had both hands free now. So, I opened my laptop. The first thing I did was pull up my banking history. I started gathering everything. Rent payments, utility bills, grocery store receipts, everything I'd paid for over the last 12 months. Then, I opened a spreadsheet and began logging each expense line by line. Rent, $1,200 a month. Electric, $140 average. Groceries, at least $400 monthly, usually more around the holidays. Cell phone bill, water, Bella's car insurance. Yeah, I was covering that too. Mom's Netflix account, and even the vet bills for Bella's cat, Muffin. By the time I finished, the total was just under $21,000. $21,000. I stared at that number for a long time. I was 23 years old, and I'd spent more than most people earning a year on a family that now called me selfish and dramatic for walking away. A family that never once thanked me, not even on Christmas morning. And that's when the idea hit me. If they wanted to paint me as the villain to the rest of the family, maybe it was time everyone knew exactly what I'd been doing. I didn't want revenge that involved shouting or drama. I wanted truth. Cold, clean, undeniable truth. So I started writing. The email took me 3 hours to craft. I started with a simple greeting and laid out the timeline of events as clearly and neutrally as possible. I explained that I had moved out, that I was no longer financially supporting Mom and Bella, and that while I didn't owe anyone an explanation, I wanted to set the record straight. I included the spreadsheet, along with screenshots of every transaction. I even attached a photo of the letter my mom had sent me, the one threatening to tell the family what I did. Then, at the very end, I wrote, "If anyone still thinks I'm selfish after seeing all this, feel free to stop contacting me too. I'm not angry. I'm just done." And I hit send. I sent it to every relative I had an email for on both sides of the family. The fallout started just hours later. The first response came from my Uncle Greg, Mom's older brother. He was always a bit of a wild card, but I'd liked him growing up. His reply was short and to the point. "You've been carrying them this whole time, Liam?" I had no idea. "I'm sorry, man. Let me know if you need anything." Then came a few more messages. Cousins, aunts. Even one of my mom's church friends, who I barely knew, wrote back saying, "I always wondered why Denise never seemed to work. Now it makes sense." But the most surprising email came from my grandmother. "Liam, I owe you an apology. After hearing your side and seeing the numbers, I realize I was wrong to pressure you. You've done more than your share. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Please keep in touch. I miss you. Love, Grandma." I read that 3 times before the words really sank in. I didn't cry, but my chest felt heavy in the best way, like something broken was starting to heal. But of course, it wasn't all warm and fuzzy. 2 days later, I got a new email from Mom. No subject line, just all caps. "How dare you betray U.S. to the family? I didn't raise you to be this cruel. I hope you're happy destroying everything. It's over between U.S." No apology, no reflection, just pure rage. That was when I knew there was no going back. She didn't want to make things right. She wanted to maintain control. And now that she couldn't, she wanted to punish me for leaving. But she wasn't done yet. A few days after that, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was Bella. "Hey," she said flatly. "I just wanted you to know you completely ruined Mom's credit." "What?" I asked. "She put the rent on her credit card after you left," Bella explained. "She thought you'd come crawling back, but now she can't pay it off. We're probably getting kicked out next week." I stayed silent. "You happy?" she asked. "Bella," I said slowly, "do you remember what Mom said to me on Christmas? She didn't mean it. Did you mean it when you called me selfish? When you said I chose to help?" She didn't answer. "I'm not doing this with you," I said. "I'm done being blamed for choices you both made." She huffed. "Whatever. Just know if we end up homeless, it's your fault." And then she hung up. But this time the guilt didn't stick. I didn't pace the floor. I didn't replay the conversation 100 times in my head. I just turned my phone off, made a cup of tea, and sat on my tiny balcony while the winter wind rolled through the trees. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like someone's backup plan. I felt like a person. And yet, this isn't where the story ends. Because a week later, I got a knock on my apartment door. And when I opened it, there stood Bella. No warning, no call, just a suitcase by her side and tears in her eyes. I stood in the doorway, staring at Bella like I was looking at a ghost. She hadn't told me she was coming. She didn't even text. Just showed up with a suitcase and the same look she always wore when she wanted something. Only this time, there was something else under it. Desperation. Panic. Maybe. But I wasn't moved. "What are you doing here?" I asked flatly. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve, the tears smudging her eyeliner. I didn't know where else to go. I tried staying with a friend, but it didn't work out. Mom's in the hospital. Stress or something. They're saying we have to be out by Monday, and the landlord already changed the locks. I don't have anywhere else. There it was. The sob story. The unspoken expectation that I'd sigh, roll my eyes, let her in, and once again shoulder the burden for a family that never even thanked me. But this time, something had shifted. Something had broken free inside me, and there was no putting it back. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. And I meant it, but not the way she wanted me to. But I'm not the solution anymore. Her mouth opened, closed. "Liam, come on. It's just for a little bit. I'll get a job. I'll figure it out. I swear. Just help me get back on my feet." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Bella had never once paid me back for anything. Not the times I covered her tuition shortfall. Not the phone bills. Not the gas money. She called me selfish while sitting in clothes I bought her. She laughed when Mom said I was a burden. And now, when her world was crumbling, she wanted me to hit pause on my own peace to pull her out. "I already gave you years of my life," I said. "You used me. Mom used me. And none of you saw me as anything more than a paycheck. "But I'm your sister," she said like that meant something. "Yeah," I replied. "And that used to mean something to me, too. But you let Mom treat me like garbage, and you joined in. You never stood up for me. You never even said thank you." She blinked fast, trying to keep from crying harder. I didn't know what to do. Mom always, she told me. I shook my head. "You're an adult, Bella, just like me." And I figured it out. "You can too." There was a long pause. The cold wind rushed in through the open doorway, making her shiver. "So that's it?" she whispered. I nodded once. "That's it." I shut the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't scream. I just closed it gently, locked it, and walked back into my apartment. My apartment. The quiet wrapped around me like a blanket. I stood in the middle of the room for a while, not moving, not thinking. Then I walked over to the kettle, made a cup of tea, and sat down on the couch. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty for putting myself first. That night, I slept better than I had in years. In the weeks that followed, I heard through the grapevine that Bella moved in with a friend from high school and got a job at a diner downtown. Mom recovered, but she had to move back in with her own mother. I didn't respond to their messages. I didn't write back. I kept the boundary clean and firm. I didn't cut them off out of hate. I cut them off out of love for myself. Because the truth is, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to people who hurt you is nothing at all. And sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away and never look back. I'm not a villain. I'm just finally free.